Hey guys, I'm Ray and we are streaming blacksmithing. Welcome in everybody. So today we are starting a brand new project. I think I need to start recording though before I tell you about it. We have I did a couple interesting things today. I started our project wall. So we've got our hook project with our paper clip hanging here, and we've got the S from Monday's project. We completed our S for the Ray's Smithy sign that I wanted to put in the middle of our project wall. So all of our other projects that we're going to add to the project wall, I would like to kind of put them all around the Ray's Smithy sign. So I'm hoping that this weekend I'll get a good start on the Ray's part of the Ray's Smithy sign. But today we are going to be working on the M. So I'm very glad that you are here. Let's see. I'm gonna hit record on this video or on the wide shot so I can kind of explain what we're doing here. And because I should have done that already and I haven't. So, okay. So today we are starting on our M project for our Ray's Smithy sign. So we've got the S already completed and we're going to start the M today. So what I have here is a 14-inch piece of 1/4 inch square stock. And 14 inches is a really odd size. Ordinarily, I would do things at like, foot and a half increments. But I felt that 1 foot, like 12 inches, was a little bit too short to create our M, and 18 inches was a little bit too long. So I kind of split the difference and I went with 14 inches. So that's how long this guy is. So basically what we are going to do is we are going to make an upset corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our center leg, which is going to start right around here. So if we were just to bend this bar in a 90-degree, we would have like a curved bend. So it wouldn't be a sharp corner. And I really want a nice sharp corner for that center leg. So in order to make that a nice sharp corner, what we need to do is heat up that center piece and hammer on each of the ends to kind of compress the material in the center. In order to be able to do that, we are going to have to use quite a bit of our quench bucket to kind of control where our heat goes on this bar. So that is going to be a very important part of this project. And so yeah, I'm pretty well looking forward to it. Once we get our upset corner completed, we're going to do a little bit of drawing on the legs to kind of give us a little bit of extra length for uh, the outside legs. And I'd like to put a little flare on the very end. So we're going to thin out the outside legs to give us a little bit of extra length with a flare on the end. So that is our project for the day. And it looks like we've got an ad starting soon, so I'm not going to start the forge until that ad is complete. So like I said, I have started putting up the project wall. So we've got ourselves our S for Smithy, the S, and then we've also got the paper clip that we made. And I said that I'd put it up in the background of our stream area. And that's what I've done. So we've got the hook that we made and it's back there. And hanging from it is our paper clip. I left it a little bit on the short side when I cut it off the bar so that maybe if I'm feeling really frisky, I can and pull it off of the wall and then draw that down just that extra little bit so that I get a similar tip style to the interior tip. So maybe we'll get that. Maybe we'll work on that a little bit if we finish one of our projects or on quicker than we expect. So yeah, that's what I've been up to today. It's a little bit on the windy side today, so my internet's probably going to be a little bit shaky. So we might get a little bit of lag and shake, like a frame rate jitter. Hopefully we won't drop, and hopefully we won't lag too badly. But there is always a possibility when it's windy like this. Unfortunately, this spring has been particularly stormy. I do know that it is supposed to rain today later on, and hopefully it holds back until the end of the stream, so we don't have to deal with any of that. So yeah, looks like the ad is done, so I'm going to start up the forge. So today I purchased a brand new tank of propane I exchanged my propane. So we shouldn't have any, we shouldn't have to change it at all today. And that's always a good day. There we go. Start up that forge. And we will stick our metal inside to heat it up. So today I am feeling a little bit more confident with our project than I was feeling on, hang on, I forgot another thing. Let's turn the light on. So today I'm feeling a little bit more confident than I have been in the past couple of streams. I did a little bit of extra planning, and things in theory should work out my way this time. Hopefully, I'm not overestimating my capabilities. I'm a little bit rusty on doing upset corners, but hopefully it'll work out. And the technique that we are focusing on today, the upset corner, it's basically when I am hammering back material on itself to thicken the material. A lot of times when we blacksmith, what we're doing is thinning out our material and making it longer, taking that width and height and turning into length. So with the upsetting, what we are doing is hammering that back and taking that length and turning it into width and height. So hopefully we can get a good straight line on the outside of our corner. And that is the idea of an upset corner, to create parallel straight lines up into the corner on both sides of that right angle. So I'm glad you guys have made it in. Thank you for watching. We are having we're having a pretty good day today. I did a little bit of editing, and I'm almost done with next week's video. I was actually really concerned about it because it is our tong video. And these are the tongs that we created for our last project, which we finished this on Friday. And so I had about 7 days worth of footage that I had to go through. And so I was a little bit nervous because that's a lot of footage. you know, we stream for about 2.5 to 3 hours every time. There was an hour-and-a-half stream in there because of some weather interruptions, but that's still quite a lot of footage. So I was a little bit concerned that it would take a long time to edit that video. But so far, it seems to be going really fast and really well. I've got to add in a little bit of sound to the very end of the video, the last like minute and a half. And after that, I need to do a couple passes to see if I can't get rid of a little bit of dead space. And then it should be pretty well done, and I'm pretty excited about that. Now I have to decide how long I want a week from next video to be. Whether I want to do just one letter or if I want to do all 3 letters that I am expecting to have done this week. So we'll see. It might be a 2-parter, the raise Smithy sign. Well, it's definitely going to be a 2-parter, but it might be a 3-parter. If I do, you know, half and half, the SMI and the THY might be 2 separate videos. So yeah, it's a little on the cooler side today, but not quite as cool as it was on Monday. So it's in the mid 60s, which is pretty nice. The shop, because it got really cold yesterday, the shop is kind of cooler. So as the forge heats it up, it should be really nice and warm in here and pleasant to actually like work. So I'm pretty excited about that. Let's see. I hadn't seen any comments on the OBS yet, so I just wanted to make sure that I'm not missing anybody. Sometimes my OBS lags a bit, and I wanted to make sure that I've got everybody's comments so I can read them all. I really enjoy responding to your comments and answering your questions. Let's see. But in the meantime, I guess I just get to talk to you guys. All right, so the middle of our steel is getting pretty hot, but I want to make it or wait a little bit longer so we can make sure that it's good and ready to hammer and move that metal. Hi from Spain. David Rojo 1, welcome in. I'm glad that you're here. So yeah, first time chat. I love meeting new people. So welcome in, and I hope you enjoy the stream. Try to keep lots and lots of water hanging out and around so that I can make sure that I don't sweat too much and I stay hydrated. The shop gets really hot, and so you got to make sure that you stay hydrated here. Let's see. Oh, I need to find a... This should be all right. So we're going to use this little glass container here to kind of help us cool off different areas of our piece as we are upsetting this corner to make sure that we are controlling where we are heating our metal. It's very important to be very precise with the amount of heat that we are getting because if too much of the material is hot, when we are hammering down on that leg, the whole thing will bow. And we definitely want to keep our legs as straight as possible on this right angle. So our first step is going to actually be bending our bar in half. So we'll hang it off of the corner of the anvil and hammer downward to kind of get ourselves our right angle. And we'll probably use the corner of the anvil to kind of judge whether that's a right angle or not. And from there, we will probably heat it back up and see about upsetting it and getting rid of the rounded area on that corner, and creating a very crisp, sharp outside edge. Alrighty. So we've got lots and lots of heat. I think we're all right. So let's go to the anvil cam, and hopefully that's all nice and in focus. Interesting. It is somehow, not somehow, it is backwards. Somehow I have mirrored my camera. Not entirely sure how I did that. Okay, so we've got a nice heat in the middle, and what we're going to do is we're going to kind of eyeball to see how far about the middle, and we're going to bend this guy in half. Looks like we have a little bit more on this side than this side, so we're going to kind of move that bend so that each side is about even. So if I use the face of the anvil to kind of judge how much material that we've gotten, it looks like we're about even now, judging with our corner right here. So I really like that corner now. And our next step is actually to take a center punch, and we are going to punch that corner so that we can make sure that we keep it in there, or exactly where we want it. So this is our center punch. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our steel on steel hammer, and we are going to punch a line or a dot right there. That way we'll be able to tell exactly where our corner is going to be. So back in the forge we go. And I am going to, oh, I missed that. I should have recorded that on this camera, and I didn't. I'll have to grab that from the other. And I want to make sure that this is in focus. There we go. There we go. We are good to go on that. So we've got a little bit of scale on here from our last project. So I'm going to clean that off from the face of the anvil. Like so. So yeah, we've got a good corner, or a good start to a corner. So now what we're going to do is we are going to focus on sharpening up that corner and creating a good start to our upsetting. And upsetting is a really strange way of, or like a strange phrase, but it's kind of the jargony way, or like it is the name of the technique is upset corners. And a lot of times there's all the dad jokes to be given on that name. So I don't know. I'm not very good at dad jokes, so I don't really have any good ones right now. Maybe you guys can come up with one. So for our next heat, we are going to start straightening out those legs and making sure that our material is nice and crisp and sharp. Hi, Ray. Hi, Chet. Welcome in, Mahalo. I'm glad that you're here. We are just starting up. So I've got a 14-inch long section of 1/4-inch stock that we're working with today. And we have folded it into a 90-degree corner, and we are going to kind of upset it so that we crisp up the outside edge and the corner. We want it to be a good 90 degrees with a really nice sharp corner. So we have folded it. We have folded it in kind of in half, and we took a center punch, and we punched where the halfway mark was, so that we can make sure that we keep the central, like the corner in the center of the bar as we're upsetting it. And so the next thing that we're going to do is kind of crisp up that area, make it nice and sharp, so that when we hammer on the legs to upset it, we will, it won't bend in weird ways. We'll get a nice 90 corner. Hi, Sandwich. Welcome in. I started a little bit early today, so I kind of feel like maybe people are trickling in. So I've started so yesterday after we finished doing our S for the Ray Smithy sign, we hung them up. So I started our project wall. So we've got our S from Monday's project, and then I also have the paper clip that we did. I cut it off a little bit on the short side. I think I'd like to unbend that last little section and kind of maybe taper that off a little bit. So I left it a little bit short, so that when we taper that down, it'll grow just a little bit extra, and we'll get those even ends on that guy. So I'm really excited. I think it's gonna look great as we start adding projects around the sign. I want the sign to be central on that wall. So we've got the Smithy started, and we are starting the M right now. The raise is going to be a rectangular piece of sheet steel, and I'm going to cut out the letters raise with the apostrophe, and I'd like to affix some LED lights to the back, so we can turn that on and it'll start glowing in colors, and I'd like to be able to change those colors and maybe program them. I think it would be kind of cool looking, So I'm hoping that this weekend I can get a good head start on that. It's going to take me a little bit of extra time to be able to hang that up, because I think that I'm going to need to put a crossbar across the sheet of MDF that's back there, so that the sign doesn't fall off. I noticed when I hung up the two pieces that I hung up, that there just isn't anything behind that wall, and the wall itself is a little bit crumbly. So I think I'm going to find the studs and then hammer like a crossbar across the studs, so that way when I hang up that sign, it won't fall right off. The M got so upset it became a W. Yes. In Curious Channel, chat can control the colors. Ooh, that's really cool. I wonder if I could figure out a way to program that. It would be really cool. You could make it be like a channel, or we could make it be a channel point redemption or something. You guys could change the color of the sign, and then everything would have that colored halo. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get that started this weekend, the raise part of the sign. And I mean, I don't see any reason why I can't start that. So hopefully hopefully I'll get a good amount done. But yeah. All right, so we've got plenty of heat. So I am gonna start crisping up that corner. Oops. Because we have it nice and bent over, it's a little bit more difficult to kind of so right there we have that lovely center punch mark to kind of make sure that we know where that corner is going to end up. So we're trying to really straighten that out and center that up. So every face is a workable face on a anvil. So we're kind of trying to straighten this all nice or straighten this up. And now we will turn it around and hammer on this edge. There we go. Now we've got two really nice edges right there, and it's almost a right angle. So let's see about hammering that just a little bit further. All right, good to go. So we are ready to start upsetting this. So what we're going to do is we are going to heat this area right here. All of this roundness, we're going to actually upset this and hammer this back down on itself so that we can sharpen up this corner. Right now it's like very smooth and rounded. I want this to be sharp. So we will spend a little bit of time in the quench bucket, kind of making this area very precise. What did I just do? Oh, I'm a dummy. There we go. I did the side by side and I didn't mean to. I've got all of these like really interesting little buttons that I can do, like where I can do insets and things like that, so you guys can see both of the cameras or what both of the cameras are seeing at the same time. I think it's kind of interesting, but I've never been able to use it because I was using, or like when I did use it, the sound was kind of echoey. And now that I have the sound pumping directly through the laptop, maybe we'll be able to use that a little bit more. There might be situations where the side-by-side view could be helpful. Yeah, I agree. I think it would be interesting to do some inset stuff. So, you know, I kind of forgot it existed because, like I said, when I had the side by side or the little inset before, we would get an echo because I was using the sound from each of the cameras. But now that we're pumping the sound directly into the laptop, I think it might work. Picture in picture is a nice scene. Yeah, like we've got, what do we have? If I do that, then I can do this, and you know, then you'll be able to see what I'm doing when I'm standing here and what I'm doing on the anvil maybe. Although I think that picture in the picture is a little bit too big, so you wouldn't be able to see. But yeah, things like that. Right, wide angle as small picture in the anvil cam could be nice. Could you move it to the top right and smaller? I could. So if I did that, then I can do this, and then make it a little bit smaller. Wait, that made it bigger. Like that? I think that might actually work pretty well. then you can kind of see both. Perfect. Yeah, that's good. Awesome. So I think we might try that for when I'm actually at the anvil. So yeah, we could definitely do some of that stuff. That way you can kind of see like my posture when I'm hammering and things like that. This is kind of going to be a tall project, so that might actually work really well for this project. So yeah. Welcome in, Dead Air. It is always great to have new viewers. I'm glad that you've come and, decided to spend some time with us. So, since I'm spending so much time here at the quench bucket, let me see if there is a way that maybe I can't raise this quench bucket so you guys can kind of see it. I think I have a this might be a little bit too tall. But I have this guy. So in here is my cold shop. That's where I do all of my jewelry work and my soldering and my small scale fabrication. I really like that shop, but right now there's a whole bunch of junk in it from when I was rearranging the hot shop. So I think I'm gonna put this here, and maybe we put this up here. Can you guys see? This is our quench bucket. I'm not sure if I like that. It's a little bit high for me. But I also want you guys to see like what I'm doing when I am, because I'm trying to really control where the heat is. So hopefully, that'll work pretty well. Thanks. I did a little blacksmithing a decade ago at my local makerspace. I always found it super cool or hot rather. Yeah, blacksmithing is great. It's so much fun. It's very relaxing for me. And I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of danger involved, but overall, it's very relaxing. It's kind of got a zen feel to it, in my opinion, at least. But I really enjoy it. I see that risk that you will bump it when you are in front of it and knock it down. See, I see that risk too, which is why I'm a little bit nervous to put it over here. Maybe if I put it closer over here. Can you guys still see it over here? Because then I'm less likely to back into it. Because it'll be like in my, side vision a bit. Better. Okay. Excellent. And yes, it is just a cat litter bucket. We have a cat, so we are constantly getting new cat litter buckets. And they make beautiful like quench buckets and scrap buckets and all kinds of stuff. Anytime we need to move something in like a bucket, we use a cat litter bucket. We often, or like when we did the bathroom, we did a whole bunch of tiling ourselves. So like all of our grout, we use these cat litter buckets. So hopefully this works out. Our piece is all nice and heated up, but it looks like there's an ad going, so I'm gonna make sure that I wait until that's done before I start again. I work in quality. Sometimes you see things happen before they happen. Yeah, and I mean that was like what I was a bit nervous about, because yeah, it's just it is definitely a risk. Definitely a risk. And it's definitely something that I personally would do because I am such a klutz. I'm not very graceful when it comes to like moving around in the shop. I'm constantly smacking my thigh on the horn of the anvil, or like my hip, I'm hip checking the heel. And it's never pleasant. It's kind of painful, and I could definitely see that work here, that happening with this quench bucket. And then I would have water all over my floor, and that would be sad. This shop does not have a water hookup, so if that happened, I would have to actually either go inside into the bathtub or out to the hose spigot. And yeah, that would be unpleasant. Okay, how are our ads going? We've got about 5 seconds left. Okay, we are back then. Excellent. All right. So I'm going to pull the piece and we're going to see how well all of this works. So let's see. What inset do I want to do? I think I'm going to do 2 with this inset, and I think that's good enough now. So you guys should be able to see me in both ways. So we are going to pull this material. Into the quench bucket. And we are actually only going to work on the one edge this time. So we are going to hammer directly on the top of this guy. And we are paying very close attention to that mark that we made. To kind of make sure that we stick in the middle. So it looks like I've moved the corner. So I think I'm going to stick this section here in the forge, and then we'll start hammering that direction, and it will hammer all of that back. All right. So how did that work? Did you guys were able to see things? I mean, is it worth having the quench bucket up here? Is that something that you guys like, or would you rather not? Because you can't really see it very well. I don't know. I think in my head the inset is really small, but like my monitoring is like super small. It's like E, and you guys can actually see it full screen if you want to. Picture in picture was great. Excellent. So now that I have full feeds on, or I have clean feeds on both of my cameras, I can do the picture in picture and still get full clean views for my YouTube videos as well. The echo is gone. I mean, this is like best of both worlds. I think this should be, pretty good. I like that. There's not much to see. Could hear the gurgle though. Yeah, there really isn't much to see because the bucket's not clear. But basically what happens is I've got about, the water is at about this level right here. And so what I'm doing is I'm kind of dunking the piece up into the water, except for like the last little area. And that's the area that I want to kind of shove down into the corner to kind of create that extra material, or to gather that material. Regarding the bucket, we see you do something there. Well, better than nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's either up here so you guys can see that I'm doing something with it, or on the floor where I'm bending over so you guys could see. You guys just get to see me bend over, and I mean, that I guess that has some benefits too, but you know, true, better than being out of frame. Do you do this for a living? Um, so right now, I am doing this full time. So right now I'm spending about 40 hours a week. Um, Most of that is like editing footage and posting things to YouTube. And I am also, and I stream about 3 days a week. So most of the actual blacksmithing that I do is actually streamed to Twitch. I have done blacksmithing for a living in the past, but in 2020 I got really, really sick. And I mean, you can probably guess what I had. And it really did a number on my lungs. So it took me a very, very long time to kind of start recovering. And I got to this point about last November where I was just so sick of not being able to do anything. And I just had a horrible quality of life. I mean, I could move around in things and I could go places, but I couldn't really do the things that I loved. So I just decided that I'm just going to try and do it anyway. And either I will get better and I will increase my quality of life, or I will spend a week in bed. And so I just decided I was going to do it anyway. And here we are. I've gotten to the point where I can work for about 4 hours out here. Doing what I love. In November, I started with about an hour and I was absolutely exhausted. So we have made great leaps in progress, and I'm starting to get my stamina back. So I'm just very grateful for all of you and your help encouraging me to continue doing this. And it's been a blast the whole way. Wow, glad to hear. Yeah. So that's, my story for the moment. I do have some goals. I would very much like to be able to start taking commission work, and I'd like to stream that commission work. I'm still not comfortable taking commissions because I feel like I'm not quite there yet, so that I can actually complete commissions in a reasonable amount of time. At least the commissions that I like to do. I do a lot of furniture, and so I'll make blacksmith or hand blacksmith to like legs and stuff, and then like seats and tops and tables. We do a little bit of poor woodworking. I'm really bad at woodworking, but I get along all right. So I just don't feel like I'm at a place yet where I can actually actively take commission work. I'm getting there, and I will get there. But for the moment, this is good enough. And, as we continue, you never know. Glad to hear. Excellent. Okay, so our piece is hot enough, and I am going to do another heat. So let's turn this around and see what we got going. Man, now that you guys have that inset, you guys get to watch me struggle pulling this piece in and out of the heat. Okay, so we've turned this around, and we're hammering from this side. Right now we're getting a little bit of a twist, so we got to kind of prevent that. And we are definitely seeing why we want to control that heat. All right, so we've gotten a little bit of twisting going on, a little bit of bending. So I'm going to take this over here, and I'm going to kind of straighten that out a bit. Flip it around in the tongs and drop it. one of the many benefits of having a magnet on the base of my anvil. It's caught. Okay, so if we look here at the center punch mark, we've definitely got a lot longer of a leg on this side. So we are going to have to kind of rebend this so that we lengthen this leg out and make this this side a little bit shorter. So that'll be our next heat. If I can get this piece in here. Struggle busting it a little bit. There we go. Anytime I use the edge or like the front face of my anvil, it starts to like walk around the shop. So I have to periodically adjust it. The bad part of using the quench bucket, as much as I am for this project, is that I'm making quite a lot of scale. So we will be using the brush quite a lot today as well. How did you get into blacksmithing? That's another good question. So when I was in high school, I had a pottery class, and this is a really roundabout way of explaining this, but I fell in love with pottery, but not just like throwing pots. I fell in love with hand building, and so I decided that I wanted to make statues. So like my dream at the time was to make the geek statues that you find at comic book conventions and comic shops. So like, you know, the superhero statues and the weird poses, and they're like a third or, you know, about yay big, right? That was my dream. So I went to college in art, and one of the classes that I had to take as a prerequisite for everything else was 3D design. And within that class, I actually had a welding project, and I just fell in love with welding to the point where I dropped pottery and I focused solely on welding and fabrication and sculpture with metal. And so I took large scale and small scale metalworking and fabrication, and when I graduated, I had a friend who was really into blacksmithing, and I was like, you know, that's a really good extension of my large scale fabrication pieces. Then I can make the exact shape that I want without like large amounts of welding. And so he taught me, I learned. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I went down to Memphis, Tennessee, because they have the International Metals Museum down there. And they actually have a working blacksmithing facility. They also have a working fabrication shop and foundry. So I learned all sorts of metalworking from these week-long trips down to the Metals Museum. They have a repair days every year, and it's a fundraiser where they have metal artists from all over the world come and help them fix broken metal things from the community. And the community pays for that service, and the artists work for free, so that's a good fundraising opportunity for them. And then in the spring, they fly in a European blacksmith, and they bring in a whole bunch of blacksmithing students, and the master blacksmith will teach a week-long class. And so I did that for several years, and that's kind of how I got into blacksmithing. Wow, that's cool. Hey, Ping, welcome in. I'm glad you've made it. So yeah, it's kind of a long and roundabout way that I got into blacksmithing, but I've never looked back. I love it. It's great. It's so much fun. It's relaxing. It's just, it's my favorite thing. My special interest. That's awesome. Good day, Ping. Did you build that forge? Yes, I did build this forge. I made this design. It is a hexagon. So if I were to take all of these bricks off, you'd see it has 6 sides. The reason that I designed a 6-sided forge is because as the heat rotates inside the forge, it increases the temperature. So it creates kind of like a fire tornado in there, and it increases the heat. So I can use a smaller torch to heat a larger area. And there are a couple cold spots, but far fewer than if I were to make a square forge. It is incredibly heavy to the point where in order to move it, I have to use an engine hoist. So, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. But yeah, all right. So we have plenty of heat now. I'm going to do another heat real fast. Bestagon, yes. So today, Ping, we are using incense. So hopefully, it's all working out nicely and you guys get to see me struggle to pull things in and out of the forge. All right, so we are paying close attention to how much heat we have and where it is. And so now we are going to hammer directly. Oh, it's a little bit curved. So we want to correct that immediately. All right, so our center punch mark is now in the center. So we've made that up. So now I need to kind of, okay, so it looks like I'm not controlling the amount of heat that I'm getting well enough, right? So that's why I'm getting all of these bends in here. So that means that I need to focus more of the heat. So I'm allowing the heat to kind of dissipate into the legs that I am hammering on. And so we're not going to move that material where we want it to go. So I need to make sure that I do that a little bit better in our next heat. So that means I need to pull out a second set of tongs so that I can flip them when I need to. So this set of tongs is going to go over here. And we're going to heat this guy up again. So yeah, what I'm finding that I need to do is I need to quench one leg and then flip the piece and quench the other leg, because all of that movement is going in towards bending that other leg. And what I want to happen is I want to shove the material into a nice corner so that we can get that nice sharp outside edge. So I'm giving myself a huge disadvantage on this piece right now because the forge that I'm using is a very large barreled gas forge. I am actually heating far more of the piece than I want to heat. If I were using a coal forge, I could kind of build a small pinpoint fire, and I could control exactly what is getting heated and make sure that the rest of the material isn't hot so it won't move. So what I'm trying to do is control the heat with the quench bucket, but I'm not doing a very good job of it right now. So I need to make sure that I do a good job. Oh, my memory card is full on that. That's awesome. All right, that's all right. I'll clear it and steal the top from the VOD. There we go. That one I can't clear though, because I don't have a clean part. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm trying to maintain like good, clean video so that I can edit it all together for YouTube. So I'm doing the best I can here. Would it be better if you quenched both legs of the piece before hammering? Yes. That is the correction that I need to make and that I was trying to explain before I refresh my clips on the cameras. So yes, if I were to quench both legs, then I would be able to control the heat and make sure that it's only in that corner. And the outside legs shouldn't bend nearly as much. And hopefully that will make it work a little bit better. So happy to see the paperclip. I'm glad you like it. Yes, we have the paperclip here and the S from Monday, was it? I don't know what day it is today. I think that it is Wednesday. Last I checked, it was Wednesday. But I also feel like it's kind of Friday-like for me. I don't know why. Are those new tongs? These are new tongs. These are the new tongs that we finished on Friday that I am using today. And so overall, I think they're all right. I think I'm a little less happy with this with this extra curve that I've got going here. I would rather that it be a full circle, but we had a little bit of extra material on this top, so they function. They're not amazingly pretty, but they function. A lot better than the previous, or like the other set of tongs that I was like complaining about, which are these guys right here. These guys were all like shaky. So those guys are nice and tight and brand spanking new. Nothing ruins your Friday like finding out it's Wednesday. Exactly, man, exactly. I don't know. It's just been one of those, like, I don't know. I feel like last month and the beginning of this month have just been, like, crazy. I just can't keep track of what day it is. Okay. We've got plenty of heat, so I'm going to try this again with our inset. And let's struggle bust. Oh, we did not struggle bust. That's exciting. All right, so that side. Now we're going to switch our tongs and use this side. Now we've got, I will probably end up alternating our tongs a little. So now we're actually starting to get a good corner going in there. So this is helping quite a lot. It's sharpening up really nicely. So now we need to focus on the other side. So we might be able to do a little bit still in this heat, but I think overall we're probably going to have to heat it up again. We are losing our shape a little bit, so let's correct that as we're going. There we go. Much better. Into the forge we go. So that's working quite a lot better, I think. Ray is always so nice and friendly, yet somehow the M was still upset. It definitely was. I mean, sometimes you just can't, you can't with some people, you know? You try to be nice, you try to de-escalate, but they still want to scream at you and they, you know. But yes, keep the dad jokes coming. We are upsetting this M. It is not even kiltered yet at all. We're gonna have to hammer it and even it out a bit. So yes, I am definitely looking forward to, you know, all of the jokes that you guys have. Let's see. What do you call a Frenchman getting attacked by a cat? Claude. That's awesome. Thank you for that one. The one true Maxon. Welcome in. First time chatter. I love first time chatters. Brand new people to the community. I love spreading blacksmithing and growing as a community. There are so many great people here, and I so enjoy adding to our collection. I was making dad jokes decades before I became dad. Ooh. Ooh. That seems like, you know, a challenge. I don't have any kids, and I try to make the dad jokes occasionally. I don't think I'm very good at them personally, at least not on purpose. I have a tendency to tell or to make things that sound, or, you know, say things that sound like dad jokes and not realize that they are, you know, they sound like dad jokes. My dad sat down for 20-minute PowerPoint presentation on why you should always practice safe sex. It was just 20 minutes of pictures of me. Nice. Nice. That joke was fine. I want to preface that by saying that joke was fine. But please keep the jokes PG-13. I'm not directly making content for children, but I also want to remain semi-family friendly. So, like I said, that joke was fine. However, you know, I would rather not get much, you know, more raunchy, if that makes sense. Alrighty. So we've got plenty of, we've got an ad coming. So I'm going to wait a little bit to make sure that everybody can see the videos, or I mean the heats, whether or not they subscribe to me. Let's see. So yeah, I'm really excited. We are going to be adding the M to our project wall, and I'm so looking forward to adding more projects to this project wall. We've got plenty that I could add already. The only reason I haven't is because I want to make sure that I leave enough space for the sign. So as we continue to create the sign, I will probably start adding a few more of the pieces that we've made together. So I'm really looking forward to it. How often do you have ads running? I have ads running once every half an hour, and it's the timer, it says it's a minute and a half. So I do about 3 minutes of ads every hour. Part of the reason that